I'm already overwhelmed and I haven't even started. Okay.
Happy to help.
Oh. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle. I have a disability. I also have a nugget, and thank you. And I read a lot of different books. And what you see in front of me is, yes, a lot of books, a lot of boxes of books. And honestly, I've been keeping this all hidden from you all for the past few months. And I'm not kidding. I've been hoarding all of these books from various sales, various orders of special editions, things like that. Most of these books, though, I mean, a majority of these books were purchased on sale, either for Black Friday, Christmas, end of the year, or also birthday presents as well. So a lot of these books weren't purchased at full price. I just want to leave that disclosure here. But yes, I have been hoarding all of these books since the month of November. They have been a huge pile in our bedroom, and Charles has constantly been asking me, are you gonna go and do your book haul yet? And I honestly kept saying no, because I plan on doing one last huge book haul before I go on a tentative book ban, because as you all know, I'm going to be getting married at the end of the year and I need to save up money for that. But also my bookshelves are filled. I've gotten a lot of the books that I want to read are more alongside the genres and the things that I'm more interested in reading, because when I started my booktube channel, I was just getting back into reading. I was learning a lot of pieces about myself, what my interests were, what kind of genres I felt more drawn to. And in the beginning, I did buy a lot of books just because I was so overwhelmed. I wanted to diversify my bookshelves, but I wasn't really paying attention to what I actually was interested in reading. So in past book unhauls and everything like that, you saw me get rid of a lot of books that either I have read or ones that I realized, no, this isn't a genre I like, and this is not one I'm actually interested in reading. So in a lot of these boxes that you'll see around me as we open them together, it's going to be genres that I do enjoy, like thrillers, horror, fantasy, and fantasy romance. There are a few specific books that might be a little bit more aligned with romance, but they might have representation or they might have tropes that I've learned. I really do love reading. So with all those pieces in mind, I just wanted to give those disclaimers, as well as saying that I did not buy these books in like 1 week or overnight. These books were all bought over the course of many months, because I know there's the overconsumption piece and all these hot takes going on. And honestly, my hot take is, as long as you're being mindful of the books that you're purchasing with the intention to go and read them, and you're also buying them from a place that intends to do good, such as an indie bookshop, then I don't see any harm with going and purchasing something that's going to bring you joy. And that's honestly my hot take. Other people might not agree with it, but personally, that's my view on it. So with that being said, and me rambling on, let's get started on this. I'm not quite sure how long this video is going to take, so I might have to go and edit it down. I might read a couple sentences from some specific books, but depending on how many we have, I might not do what I normally do in book hauls, which is reading at least the first paragraph so you have an idea of what that book is about. I think what we're going to start with is actually this box from Satisfiction, because it is Black History Month, and Satisfiction is a Black woman-owned online special edition store. It is one that I absolutely love, and I've purchased books here and there, but I haven't actually ever subscribed for a subscription from them. And I believe you get a book from them every 3 months or so. And they actually, at the end of last year, announced that they were going to be doing a thriller or horror line. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I want to sign up for. That's something that I'm 100% interested in. So that is actually what's in here, and I'm so excited to open it because I do know which book it is. I'm also glad I'm not claustrophobic because I'm sandwiched in between boxes right now. But at least they're boxes of books, you know? And their horror line has the name Black Raven Books, which I honestly love. Raven was one of my favorite names to use in any video games growing up, or whenever I tried to attempt to write a book, Raven was always the main character. But it says, "Dear Rochelle, thank you so much for supporting Satisfiction Black Raven Books in our vision of uplifting BIPOC voices. Thank you again for your support, and I hope you enjoy your new novel. So excited. And in it we have a little nameplate and then also a little information from the author about the book. And the book itself is going to be The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. And we have these stunning sprayed edges. I don't know if there's going to be, yeah, there's not going to be any special stuff on the book outside of the dust jacket. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And I don't really have a particular thing that appeals to me either way, but yeah, this is the book. It is stunning. So it says, Devante taps his temple. You're here, but your mind is trapped back wherever you came from. Mental freedom is the only way to true liberation. You were expected to be perfect, weren't you? Straight Aing your way straight to college. I'd love to meet the real Jordan if she's brave enough to come out and join us. Oof. This sounds so good, and I actually have had a few booktube friends that have read this book already, and since I'm finally doing my book haul, I might actually try to sneak this in for the month of February, also because it would count for one of my requirements for Defend the TBR, so very excited to read this, and she is stunning. She'll probably go on my sprayed edge shelf that I have over here. I just need to finagle around. Then we're just gonna, I think, maybe start with this side and then go over here. So next one is gonna be a book that I purchased from Owlcrate, actually using points that I had. I don't usually get Owlcrate books too often, but I do get points through there, so it's nice whenever there is a book I'm interested in, I can use my points and snag it up. All right, so the beautiful book that I got in Owlcrate is actually Violet Thistlethwaite Is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholtz, and she is beautiful. This is actually a book that I was trying to get an ARC for through NetGalley, but sadly I did not get approved, and then I really wanted to get the book eventually at some point, and I actually had it, I think, in my bookshop.org cart, and then I saw that the author was saying that there's some special editions through Owlcrate available, so I had to hop up and snag it because you will see why. So first off, here are the sprayed edges again, and then if you look at the book here, so beautiful, and then on the other side here there's a cute little sleeping dog, and then the spine, and going on the inside of the book we have this. And then the back, just a guy cuddling a dog. I mean, come on now, that's adorable. And then the reversible dust jacket is going to be this, which is so cute. But it says she didn't want to be the Thorn Witch anymore, and so she wouldn't be. So this author actually lives in Colorado, and for those of you that don't know, I live in Colorado as well. I really love trying to go and support the authors that live in my state. So yeah, I was over the moon when I was able to go and snag this copy. And then we have a handwritten note on the inside as well as a signature. It says, Guy Shadowfade is dead, and after a lifetime as the Dark Sorcerer's right hand, Violet Thistlethwaite is determined to start over, not as the fearsome Thorn Witch, but as someone kind, someone better, someone good. I'm so curious about this one. I feel like this is such a cozy romantasy, but like also villain-y type of stuff and maybe morally gray. So I'm excited to pick this one up. I also just really love how the book looks on the outside, and once I rearrange my bookshelves, I might actually have to display this book without the dust jacket on it because I'm obsessed with this. This is just the vibes that I love so much and want my own home bookshelves to look like that. I'm not doing too well with keeping this short. I'm so sorry. Next special edition. I don't have too many special editions, but we're gonna go through all of these ones first. This is going to be from the Love Story Society. So the next special edition book that I got, like I said, was from the Love Story Society, and this is People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. As some of you know here, I absolutely adore Hannah Bonham Young. She is one of my favorite authors because of Out on a Limb. It was one of the books that got me back into reading because it had really great limb difference representation. And I have heard since purchasing this book that a lot of people aren't too wild about this book, especially the main character, but I still have had a goal of going and buying every single one of this author's books, and I really preferred this cover over some of the other editions that I saw, so I had to go and jump up to get this one. I'll just read the card here that kind of describes the book. So it's an ode to familial love, friends to lovers, sex lessons, so this is going to be a spicy book. He refuses to settle down. She's the reason to stay, and it's a charming small town. So I do really love friends to lovers. I also adore small town romances as well. But yeah, I've heard mixed things about the male main character, so we'll see how things go on this one. But I'm still excited to get this edition of it and put it on my bookshelves because I have a Hannah Bonham Young collection and I have to keep adding to it. I have another order from Owlcrate and I'm not quite sure. I think I know which book this is, but at the same time I could be wrong, so we'll see. All right, so we actually have Wild Reverence and it comes with a box for it. So this is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. And I didn't actually think it was going to have like this fancy little cover over it, but it's really pretty. It says, "I missed you as if a part of me has been torn. I would have done anything to follow you." I mean, that sounds like yearning to me. "I am an underling, but I am also a skyward. I cannot claim one over the other, and I am the worst thing that has ever happened to the gods." So this is what this one looks like. I honestly had to go and snag this one up as well, and this one went fast, so I'm glad I grabbed it when I did. But she is really, really, really pretty. And then on the inside, let me take this off. So sprayed edges. And then "A name shapes a divine as much as the stars do." I really love that galaxy look on it. That's so pretty. And then "Movement was destined to be my armor." That's so pretty. And then on the inside, we have this image here. And then on the back, this one. I really like this character art on the back. She's a little bit of a thick one and very heavy. So yeah, this one might take some hand exercises to hold on to because I have very tiny hands. But yeah, this is the one here. Oh, and I forgot to show you the reversible dust jacket. I mean, that is beautiful. Oh my goodness. And there's like a dragon on it. I'm so excited to read this one. I know a lot of people have really raved about this book too, so I'm excited to finally pick it up. See, some of these books I've just been on pins and needles to go and read, but I haven't because I haven't done this book haul for everyone. So now I finally can because I opened these up. So it says, "Dear Matilda, I wrote I let the words flow for her. And when the ink dried, I gave my very heart to the fire." Oh, that sounds beautiful. I can't wait to read this. I've only read, I think, one book so far by Rebecca Ross, but I really did love her writing style. So I'm excited to go and dive into this one. Okay, now this is the end of the special editions. Those were the most expensive books that I got. Everything else was on sale. So first off, we're gonna go through my Barnes & Noble orders. I got these ones at the beginning of the year when there was, I think, after the holiday sales, and I actually had gift cards that I got from Christmas, so I used them for these books. So one of the books that I got was The Dead of Summer by Ryan LaSala. Don't move, don't blink, don't breathe. I believe this one is kind of like an apocalyptic story, and I absolutely love anything that's apocalyptic and has end of the world vibes in it. Those are just some of my favorite books to go and escape into. It might seem weird to you, but those are some of my comfort reads that I really enjoy. So with this one, it says, 2 days before, Ollie Veltman is finally coming home to the quaint island of Anchor's Mercy after a year away while his mom battled cancer. It should be a celebration. His mom is cancer-free, and she's determined to have the best summer ever. But Ollie's now ex-best friends think he abandoned them, and he's returning with a lot of questions. Because for a place that's perfect on the surface, a secret rots beneath the waves. Oh, I'm excited for this one. I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but I think that's always really great because then I can go and establish my own opinions and reviews for a book. So I can't wait to read this one. I'm probably going to read it either next month or the month after. I'm really just in a mood to read a lot of apocalyptic end of the world stuff. Not because of the state of the world, but just I need my comfort reads. Then one that I didn't necessarily have on my radar, but I really, really, really loved the art on the book was this one. It's No Charm Done by Tori Ann Martin. I just love how there's kind of like a sunshine or a golden retriever love interest and then the black cat love interest on this cover. oh, it drew me in instantly. And I was like, you know what? We need to pick this one up. So it says Lily, redhead, queen bee, future valedictorian, type A, super planner, oldest daughter of an illustrious magical family, puff sleeves, hair clips, silver rings, hates chrysanthemum Quinn. Chrysanthemum, soft goth outcast, future valedictorian, new girl in town, sarcastic, savage even, coffee addict, secretly likes cutesy jewelry, hates Lily Allerton. One rivalry, one curse, one chance to save the town. I love enemies to lovers so much, and I love that this is like a witchy one. Oh, the cover's so cute. I'm excited to read this one. I'm probably gonna save this one specifically to read for Pride Month. Then we're gonna go through my last Barnes & Noble box. And I think I actually lied to you all. There is one more box that is special edition books. I think they were ones that I ordered early last year and completely forgot about them because Litjoy crate, some books you'll go and order and then it will be a hot minute until you go and get them in the mail. So there might be some that I've completely forgotten about here. I forgot about a lot of these. Like I knew what was coming, but I forgot about how much I've been wanting to read them. So here's another one, The Summer I Ate the Rich by Micah Moolite and Maritza Moolite. So I think both of these might be family related sisters, something along those lines. Just add lemon, garlic, and a dash of the 1%. Oh my god, I think this might be a zombie type of book, or at least have cannibalism in it. Brielle Pettifor loves to cook, but with a chronically sick mother and bills to pay, becoming a chef isn't exactly a realistic career path. When Brielle's mom suddenly loses her job, Brielle steps in and uses her culinary skills to earn some extra money. The rich families who love her cooking praise her use of unique flavors and textures, which keep everyone guessing what's in Brielle's dishes. The secret ingredient? Human flesh. Oh my god. There's some people that I follow in the book world that have read this book and loved it so much, so I'm very excited to read this. It might be really gross, but I'm excited. Then I have Son of the Morning by Akawake Ameze, and this is actually one that I've had on my radar for a while, but I have heard it is quite spicy as well. So when I got back into reading, I wasn't exactly interested in spice. It wasn't really something I was very wild about, but now I'm starting to get a little bit more used to it in books, especially if it is a fantasy book, then it doesn't bother me as much. But this was actually one where I believe there was a more specific sale of like buy one get one 50% off, so I saw this book right away on that list and I had to go and grab it. And it is one that has these sprayed edges. And then the cover on that side, and then that side. And then there's nothing in the dust jacket. So this is actually a steamy paranormal romance set in the Black South, a bold new foray that takes us on a journey of magic and fantasy from the whispering creeks outside the city of Salvation to the very depths of hell itself. I've heard a lot of good things about this book as well, and I believe I've read at least one book by Akawake Ameze, and I really did like it. From what I remember, I'm still dealing with a little bit of brain fog after getting over a cold, so some things aren't coming to my memory as quickly as I would like, but I'm very excited to read this one, and she's not too thick of a read either, so that will be really nice. Then I have The House of Quiet by Kirsten White, and this is one that I've had on my radar for some time as well, and a lot of people, when they've read some pieces of it, it has really caught my attention. So it says, to save her sister, she must enter the house. In the middle of a deadly bog sits the House of Quiet. It's a place for children whose procedure triggered powers too terrible to be lived with, their last hope for treatment. No one knows how they're healed or where they go afterwards. I honestly love a good haunted house book, so I'm excited for this one as well. And the cover is just so beautiful. So this is going to be a fun read too. So then I have Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. This is an author that lives in Colorado as well, and I've read a few books by him and they were so good. I've also heard really great things about this book from one of my other booktuber friends, and this is actually one that I have on my mystery thriller bingo board because this book involves podcast, and that was one of the requirements for the bingo board. So a little bit about this one. It says, she gets people to confess their crimes for a living. He knows she's hiding a terrible secret. It's time for the truth to come out. So with this one, from what I remember, the main character basically goes and does this podcast with serial killers or people that are accused of some sort of crime. And then I believe there's this whole confession piece. But the last person that she has is someone, I think, that claims to have killed someone that she loves. So I'm very, very intrigued on this one. I've really wanted to pick this book up because I do enjoy this author's books so much. So I can't wait to go and read this one. Then the last one that I got from Barnes & Noble is Polybius. Hopefully I'm saying that right, by Colin Armstrong. This one is one that I've heard both great things and not so great things on, but it has been kind of described as Stephen King meets Stranger Things, and we know me, I love apocalyptic stuff, and I think some people even said Walking Dead, and automatically when I heard that, you know, light bulbs were going off in my head because I love zombies so much. So this one automatically was one that I wanted to get my hands on. So it says the year is 1982 and Andy Winston has just started her shift at the seedy arcade in the small seaside town of Tasker Bay, California. With an aptitude for programming and dreams of moving to Silicon Valley, Andy avoids making friends by spending most of her free time repairing cabinets at Home Video World, where her deadbeat boss is out looking for his next fix. But what starts as a pretty standard weekend evening takes a turn when a mysterious game called Polybius is rolled out and plugged in on the shop floor. The usually quiet arcade is suddenly overwhelmed with players clamoring to play the new game. I'm so curious, and I'm also a gamer, so, you know, this just has a lot of those things where I'm like, sign me up, this is definitely a book that I'm going to enjoy. So this is the last of the special editions because I had this on the bottom of the stack, and it's from Litjoy. Alright, so this is probably one of those purchases that was around the time when I wasn't really thinking 100% with the books that might be right up my alley, but I really thought that this was gorgeous, and I have been really curious about this series. So just showing you the outside of the box set, and then let me pull out the other books. Yeah, this was one of those purchases where I was like, oh, that is so pretty, and I have the points for it, so why not? So we have Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. And then sprayed edges, which are really beautiful. And then inside, and then it says, in the embrace of darkness, the light of hope shines brightest. And then we have this. Like, as you can see, this was why I was like, I need to use my points to go and snag this. So I won't give you the information on the other books, but I'll at least tell you what the first book is about. So it says, Ren Greenrock has always known that one day she'd steal her sister's place on the throne. Trained from birth to return to the palace and avenge her parents' murder, she'll do anything to become queen and protect the community of witches who raised her. Or she would, if only a certain guard wasn't quite so distractingly attractive, and if her reckless magic would stop causing trouble. Interesting. Princess Rose Valhart knows that with power comes responsibility, and she won't let a small matter like waking up in the desert with an extremely impertinent and very handsome kidnapper get in the way of her duty. Ooh. I'm so curious. And these are absolutely stunning. Okay. And then this one is Cursed Crowns. Super pretty as well. And then we got these sprayed edges. And then inside the end pages are the same, but then the other sides, and then the inner dust jacket, which is super pretty. I love the art style. The art style is gorgeous. See, this is a problem when you get points saved up on certain subscriptions sites. Like, I don't purchase the subscriptions, but I do use my points to go and get certain books because, yeah, why not? And then Burning Crowns. I think this one might be my favorite. I just love the red flames in the background. Oh, and then here are these sprayed edges. Okay, and then the end pages here are a lot more flame-like, so it seems like things are intensifying. then back, the other side, and then inside the dust jacket. Oh, so pretty. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. So I'm excited to read these as well. I haven't really been in a fantasy mood right now, but with the Ramathon next month, which I am hosting, I still need to make a video for that, but that will be coming out the beginning of March. I will probably be reading a lot more fantasy books because I feel like a lot of them will really help count for that and everything. All right, so now we're done with Barnes & Noble and all, I'm assuming all the special editions. So now let's go through all of these stuff. Let's go through the books that are not in boxes yet. So first up, we actually have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This was actually a book that was gifted for my birthday from my good friend Bo. She got this book from my wish list on bookshop.org, which I usually always include in the description. No one is ever required to go and send me books, but it's always appreciated and means so much when it happens. But yeah, she got this one and I've been really wanting to read it. I also love how the style of the book just reminds me of old VHS copies that you could go and get from bookstores or libraries and things like that, or video rental places. So it says, high school sophomores Abby and Gretchen have been best friends since 4th grade, but after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen begins to act different. She's moody, she's irritable, and bizarre incidents keep happening whenever she's nearby. Ugh. I'm so excited to read this. I'm probably going to save this one specifically for Halloween, or at least October. So again, thank you so much, Bo, for sending this over. I appreciate you so much, and I'm so thankful to have met you through the booktube space. Then a few other books that I was kindly gifted for my birthday was Soul Gazer by Maggie Rapier and The Good Girl by Mary Kubica. And these books were both kindly gifted to me by my friend Kat, aka Curious Cat, and I'll leave both of my friends' YouTube channels down in the description below. But yeah, Kat sent these over for my birthday, which was so sweet as well, and super appreciative. I have had this book on my list for quite some time, and I've really been curious about this one. So it says, every legend has a beginning. Saoirse yearns to be powerless. Cursed from childhood with a volatile magic, she's managed to imprison it within herself, living in constant terror that one day it will break free. And it does, changing everything. Horrified at her loss of control, Saoirse's parents offer her hand to the cold and ruthless Stone King. Knowing she'll never survive such a cruel man, Saoirse realizes there is only one path forward. She must break her curse. On the eve of her wedding, Saoirse seeks out the legendary Wolf of the Wild Phelan, a feral, silver-tongued pirates. Yes, this is a pirate romance story, and I'm so excited. I know one of my other booktube friends, she read another book, I want to say it was called The Ever King, and it's been high on my list to go and pick up because I do really love pirate stories, but I don't get to read them that much, or at least don't really find them as often as I'd like. So super excited to start this one. And then the other book that Kat got me was The Good Girl by Mary Kubica. And this says, a woman's abduction unravels a shocking string of secrets in this riveting thriller. One night, Mia Dennett enters a bar to meet her on-again, off-again boyfriend. But when he doesn't show, she unwisely leaves with an enigmatic stranger. At first, Colin Thatcher seems like a safe one-night stand, but following Colin home will turn out to be the worst mistake of Mia's life. I'm so excited to read this. This author has popped up on my radar a few times, and I don't think I've read anything by her so far, so I'm very excited to check this one out. So again, thank you so much to my dear friend Kat for gifting these to me for my birthday. I'm so excited to read both of them, and this might be another one that I save for March for Ramathon. Then another book I was gifted was actually Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken, and I can't remember if Charles got this for my birthday or for Christmas, but I had to go and get me a book, and this one does have beautiful sprayed edges as well, and end pages here, and then this side, and then on the outside, I mean, this is beautiful right here. Gorgeous. So this was actually a book that I don't think I had heard of at all. So when Charles gave it to me, I was like, oh wait, this is new. This hasn't been a book that I've seen mentioned by anyone. So it says, they said the gods were myth, that the giants were only stories told around dying fires. they lied. The gods aren't dead, they're only sleeping, locked in mortal bodies scattered across the world, waiting for the right spark to wake them. And my father is the most ruthless of them all. Like I said, I have not heard any people talk about this, so I'm really curious. And I don't know if you can really tell because there is kind of like this foiling, but there's like a buck on the front and has like these gold trinkets hanging along the antlers. But so pretty. I'm very, very intrigued on this one. So technically, I guess I did have another special edition. Who knows? Maybe there's other books that I'm forgetting about because I don't know about the Bookoutlet orders. Then from work, we actually do a Secret Santa, and I was able to go and put some books on my wish list, and one of the ones that I was kindly gifted was The Crash by Frida McFadden. This was actually one that I've been really wanting to go and read because I do love like stranded snowstorm stories. Those are some of my favorites, and I was really hoping to start reading this year, but Colorado has been so bizarre with snow, or actually the lack of it, so this might have to be one that I save for next year because I just really want to read one of those stuck in a snowstorm stories. The nightmare she's running from is nothing compared to where she's headed. Tegan is 8 months pregnant, alone, and desperately wants to put her crumbling life in the rearview mirror, so she hits the road not realizing she's headed straight into a blizzard. I am so excited for this one. I feel like some people weren't too wild about this story, but I'm excited to go and check it out and see what ends up happening. I'm very curious. And then another book that I was gifted from work was actually Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. We actually got gifts from our company, and we got to pick through a list of certain things. We had like a certain amount that we were allowed to go and spend on items, and also, Bo read this book, I think for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon, and she loved this book so much and really loved the cultural pieces that were in there. She could go and relate to them really well. And I've really been wanting to go and expand and diversify my bookshelves. And I'd say that they are pretty diverse already, but I feel like I really need to kind of diversify them still in some specific cultures. So this one says, from the author of Gods of Jade and Shadow comes a reimagining of the classic Gothic horror novel, a story about an isolated mansion in 1950s Mexico and the brave socialite drawn to its treacherous secrets. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Naomi Taboada, I don't think I'm saying that one right, heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. Naomi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she's also tough, smart, and not afraid. Not of her cousin's new English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Naomi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Naomi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. I am so excited to go and pick this one up, especially after hearing Bo talk about it, so we'll get to see what it's all about. Alright, we got one pile done, we still got a few more piles, and my battery might need to be charged, so we might have to take a little break. Okay, so this one is from bookshop.org. I bought a few books from bookshop.org, especially with all the things going on in Minnesota, and I was able to go and find some indie bookstores in Minnesota, especially that were going and putting funds into everything that was going on. So one of the bookstores that I supported was Comma, and there's actually a comma right after it, a bookshop. I'm a little bit disappointed with how this one was wrapped. So the package looks like this, but the book itself is put in diagonally, and the package kind of seems a little bit roughed up, so hopefully the book is in good shape. And thankfully it is. So the book that I actually got was Daggermouth by H.M. Wolfe. He is her ruin, she is his rebellion. So this book, if you're on Threads, it was one that was getting discussed about quite a bit because the author is black and she was kind of going under some backlash by a white author, or at least a white presenting author, and the only thing that this author did was basically went and used a quote from her book to kind of relate to what was currently going on in the world. By no means was she going and promoting her book or anything like that, But yeah, that was something that happened, and she got a lot of backlash and bullying from that other author. So that went and brought this to my attention, and I'm so glad that the book is not damaged because, like I said, the package very much was. And this is the paperback edition. It's an indie version because it did get picked up traditionally, and I think that one will be coming out a few months from now, and it will be hardcover. So I was very happy that I was able to go and snag a paperback indie version before all of that ended up changing. So it says, the first thing you'll learn in Newfound Haven is mercy no longer exists. Showing mercy is a weakness, and weakness will get you killed. The second thing is this: the Veyra are always watching. From the highest glass atrium in the heart to the windowless slum dens of the Boundary, no movement goes unseen. The last lesson is the hardest, but you must remember it. Love outside of your ring is a death sentence. I'm so curious about this one. This is also a dystopian book. I've heard nothing but raving reviews from a lot of my book friends, so I'm excited to pick this one up. I also know Covers with Cassidy read this, and she really loved it as well. But I am aware now that this book does end on a pretty big cliffhanger, so I'm glad that I can at least mentally prepare myself for that piece. And then something I love too is that it does mention trigger warnings in the beginning of the book, which is so very important. But I'm so excited for this book. I might also try to sneak this in before Black History Month ends. Wish me luck. But very excited for this one. Very, very, very excited. We have a few more boxes from bookshop.org, and one of them I did from the Bandwagon books. This is one that is a pop-up shop here in Colorado, but they were also giving their proceeds to Minnesota as well. So this was another box that I ordered. And then after this one, I have one more box from bookshop.org. So this one I think I purchased with birthday money and everything. But first book we have here is Eternal Ruin by Tigist Girma. I did go and read Immortal Dark last year and really, really loved it. It was very, very dark, like the title says, but I couldn't wait to go and read the next book. I did decide to not get the sprayed edge version. I wasn't too particular about whether or not I got the special edition or not, but I am excited to continue the series because the cliffhanger that things left off on in Immortal Dark, holy crap. So I'm excited to continue this one. I'm not going to read any information on it because that would give spoilers. Then another book I got was Can You Survive the Zombie Apocalypse by Max Brailer? Not quite sure, but it says the choice is yours, and if you don't survive, you've got no one to blame but yourself. I think this one is kind of like a choose your own adventure. Yeah, it says hours of bone-crunching zombie action with 100 paths and 50 endings to choose from. Can you survive the zombie apocalypse? Inside these pages lies unspeakable horror, blood-splattering, brain-impaling, flesh-devouring horror. You've probably read your fair share of zombie stories, but this time it's different. So this is like a choose your own adventure type of thing and multiple choices and stuff. So as you see here, it kind of says like if you're going to do a certain option, you're going to go to page 204. Another option is page 205, or you turn back to page 22. I haven't read any books like this before, but I have played a lot of like choose your own adventure types of video games, and I've really enjoyed those as well. So I'm excited to see how things go here. And I'm also just really craving a good zombie apocalypse book. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, I need more water. I am sweating buckets, so that means I need to hydrate more. I think also we're gonna put our hair up. We might look like a founding father, but that's okay. Just as long as we don't practice that stuff. Next one we have here is Eldritch by Carrie Lake. I did read Anathema last year as well and really, really loved it. It was so good. And if you're looking for a good like horror fantasy book, I highly recommend Anathema. I have heard mixed reviews about Eldritch and the fact that it kind of falls into the whole second book problem, especially if it's like a series that is going to be a trilogy or something. A lot of people tend to have issues with the second book because it feels like a filler. So I am a little bit nervous about this one, but very excited to check it out. And also, it is a chunky book, so we'll see how this one goes. I don't know necessarily if I'm going to pick this one up next month because I am a little bit in a I've been reading really slow lately, so I feel like probably shouldn't read really chunky books. I should probably read the thinner books just to try to get that momentum going again. Then the next book I have here is Roll for Romance by Lenora Woods. This is one that I got an ARC for on NetGalley, but I really just prefer reading books physically. And also I really love that there's a lot of like D&D type books right now. It's so much fun. And depending on the books, especially if it's one that I absolutely love, my partner Charles, who DMs for a lot of campaigns, loves going and reading them as well. And then we go and talk about them. So this says, two fledgling tabletop gamers find themselves falling for each other, both in and out of their weekly D&D sessions in this charming fantasy-tinged romance. When Sadie Brooks unexpectedly loses her marketing job, she flees New York to spend the summer with her best friend in small-town Texas, where joining his Dungeons & Dragons campaign is the perfect distraction while she plans her next steps. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to read this. I also don't know too many people who have read this. I think Ivy has started this, but I don't think she's finished it just yet. But I want to say the parts that she has read of this, she really did enjoy. So I'm excited to check this one out. And then last book in this box is The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovolino. And unfortunately, this one is not a sapphic romance like I initially thought, but I believe there is a lot of yearning in this book, and I've had this order on my floor for months now, and I haven't been able to read it. I hope you realize how hard that's been for me, because I've been saving up all these books to show you all at once. So this says, Love, Loyalty, Sacrifice. Gray Flynn has dedicated her life to her mage, Kier. She will be his blade on the battlefield, his healer and protector. The deep well of raw power inside her is Kier's to wield. They are bound together by blood and magic, but there is one truth Gray dare not reveal, not even to Kier. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I feel like after I read The Knight and the Moth, I was really loving like women knight books, but there really wasn't a lot of them. And then this one kind of popped up on my radar and I was really excited for it, but the price that it had at the time was just like, I can't really justify this. And then I think when I did this order specifically from bookshop.org, I had some birthday money, so I was like, you know what, we're gonna snag this one up because I really, really want to read it. Then one more box from bookshop.org. I think this was the other one that I got from the one book indie bookstore from Minnesota, and this box is also kind of busted, so I'm hoping that the books are okay. Just a lot of the I don't usually have problems with bookshop.org whenever I order stuff from there, but yeah, the ones from Minnesota were a little bit in rough shape. And the thing is, like with bookshop.org, you can go and support an indie bookshop of your choice, but it takes off the work from that bookshop having to go and pack up your orders. So that was something I liked when I went and did orders through here, because I did want to support indie bookstores in Minnesota, but they have so many things that they're dealing with. So this was my way of supporting them without putting additional work for them to do. So then I have Convergence by Kirsten Dunn. Sometimes the strongest bonds are the easiest to control. It definitely feels like a lot of really great dystopian books have been coming out. So this has been something that has really excited me because I love dystopian books. It says, only the worthy will rise. In the underground city of the Burrows, every 18-year-old partakes in the Convergence, an ancient rite upheld for over 100 years where magic beings called Auriths decide who is worthy of power. The problem is not everyone is worthy, and those left unbonded are sentenced to exile in a world destroyed by chemical warfare. Another one of my really good booktube friends that I honestly swear by all of the books that she reads and loves, because half of the time these are some of my favorite 5-star reads. I can't remember her entire name on the top of my head for her channel, but it's Brie. Anytime she raves about a book, I'm like, yep, okay, I gotta read that because I know I'm gonna love it. And this was one that she devoured. And then last one that I got in this box was Queering Him by Catherine Wella Bogan. And this one is actually by the author that has been doing a lot of the hot chef posts on Threads. She is just this person that's described as a golden retriever, and she's so smart, has lots and lots of education, and although she writes about these posts about her boyfriend that she met in France and who is, like her tags usually say, a hot chef, she's also an author and just so articulate about a lot of relevant and important things in the world. So when I saw that she was coming out with kind of like a very, very, very queer book, I was like, okay, we're gonna support her, even though I might struggle to get through some parts of the book. I really, really wanted to support this author. So there's this little quote here that says, equal parts erotic, tender, and devastating, Boggin's bold and biting debut explores bisexuality and first love in all its messy, nuanced glory. In this propulsive debut novel, Queering Him, Catherine Bogan, it's either Bogan or Bogan, I don't know, chronicles the scalding hot story of millennial enemies turned lovers, Avra and Kieran. Bullied by Kieran at high school, Avra begins to recognize something familiar in his threatening but always lingering gaze. What if he's cruel not only because he fears her out queerness, but because he also secretly covets it for himself? I'm very curious about this one, and yeah, as you can tell, it talks about some important and kind of taboo topics, so I'm very curious to see how this one goes. I know she also voiced her own audiobook as well, so who knows, maybe it's going to be something that I try tandem reading if I can get a copy of the audiobook. Okay, so those are all those other boxes, and I still have to do my Bookoutlet boxes, but my camera is kind of struggling right now, so I'm gonna go and let it charge for a bit and maybe cool down, and then we will tackle 6 Bookoutlet boxes. How do you feel about all these books? Do you not know what to think? Do you not know what to think? Is that a lot of books? Huh? Okay, so we are back. My battery is charged, and I have been fed and I have had more water. So let's go and go through the Bookoutlet boxes that I have now. Now, some of these boxes are from Black Friday and then end of the year sale or beginning of the year sale. So a lot of these Bookoutlet orders were all on sale. And some of them are smaller boxes and some of them are bigger boxes. So they're a little bit all over the place. But I'm excited to go through them with you all, and I've also removed a lot of the extra boxes from around me. Alright, so starting off with this box, there were 2 books in it. So one of them is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I believe the movie for this is now on Netflix, but with a lot of thrillers especially, I always prefer to read the book first before I do watch the movie, because sometimes there's spoilers and, you know, it sometimes can take away that surprising piece that I really do love so much about thrillers. I had to go inside the book because on the back didn't have a synopsis of it at all. So this says, travel journalist Lo Blacklock has just been given the assignment of a lifetime to travel the North Sea on the inaugural voyage of the Aurora, a luxury cruise ship. Between the plush cabins, elegant guests, and sparkling dinner parties, Lo's trip is nothing short of amazing. But as the week progresses, Lo hears what can only be described as a nightmare. A woman in the cabin next to her being thrown overboard. Yeah, I've been really curious about this one, and one of my other booktube friends said that this was one of their favorite books. So when I heard that, I was like, you know what, I really need to read the physical book before I end up going and watching the movie for it. Then another book that I have here is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but this was actually a book that I didn't think was going to be one I would be interested in, and I think that had a lot to do with the alternative cover that I've seen of it. I am someone that judges a book by its cover. I know we're not supposed to do that, but I am extremely guilty of it, and I just prefer how this cover looks compared to the other ones I've seen. And I think Soleil was the one that I saw talk about this book, and just the way she explained it, that was when it really seemed more like a book that was going to be right up my alley. So when I saw this one was available on Bookoutlet, I said yep, because it is a pretty chunky book, and I feel like I would just rather read this one physically compared to going and reading it over an ebook. The Catenan Republic, the hierarchy may rule the world now, but they do not know everything. I tell them my name is Telemus, I tell them I was orphaned after a tragic accident 3 years ago, and that good fortune alone has led to my acceptance into their most prestigious school. I tell them that once I graduate, I will gladly join the rest of civilized society, and allowing my strength, my drive, and my focus, what they call will, to be leached away and added to the power of those above me, as millions already do, as all must eventually do. Whew, this sounds like a very intense read, and I'm so curious. Like I said, it wasn't really a book that seemed like it would be right down my alley, but after hearing other people go and describe it after they've read it, this one has me really intrigued, and I have a feeling I'm gonna love this, although it is very intimidating because it is a thick book. But I do like, even though it is smaller words on the page, I kind of prefer that over them being too big. It's like if they're too big, then my brain just suddenly can't comprehend or can't really absorb what I'm reading. So yeah, I'm excited for this, but nervous. Let's do this big box. So this was one of the first orders that I did from Bookoutlet, actually, looking at a lot of the books that are in here. So one I have here is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar, and this one I have heard really great things about. So it says, in the summer of 1988, the mutilated bodies of several missing girls begin to turn up in a small Maryland town. The grisly evidence leads police to the terrifying assumption that a serial killer is on the loose in the quiet suburb, and soon a rumor begins to spread that the evil stalking local teens is not entirely human. This one I've heard really great things on, and I have a feeling I'm really going to love this book. It's also going to be a very quick read. Then we have The Underachiever's Guide to Love and Saving the World by Sloane Brooks. This was one that I did try to go and request through Atria, but sadly it wasn't one that I ended up getting. It says, Courtney has given up her childhood dream of ever being a chosen one, but that doesn't mean she's about to let Bryce claim the title for himself. Courtney's only goal in life is to have no goals. A reformed overachiever, she's content with her dead-end job and simple existence. And her feud with neighbor Bryce brings her immense joy. Everything is perfect. Until Courtney and Bryce are pulled through a portal and flung into a fantasy world where they are met by a prophecy-obsessed sage claiming one of them must be the chosen one destined to save humanity from an unknown evil one. I don't know why, but this is kind of giving me a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm here for it. I'm curious, I'm intrigued, and like I said, this was one I did try to request through Atria, but sadly didn't get picked up for it, so I'm excited to finally get the chance to read it. Then I have Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This was one that I really wanted to read, and even more so after I saw Sarah from Wicked Reading go and read a quote from the book and just a few different moments throughout it, and I was like, this one is going to absolutely wreck me, but I really want to read this, and I really want to do things with my reading journal and pick it up where I go and talk about certain quotes that really hit home with me or some certain impactful moments, and I feel like this is going to be one of those that I end up doing that with. It says the three Maxwell siblings have kept their distance from the lily-white gated enclave outside Dallas where they grew up. It wasn't being the only black kids in the neighborhood that pushed the children to flee, but rather the strange and inexplicable things that began to happen in the house as soon as they moved in. Was it some cosmic trial, a demonic rite of passage into the upper class? Whatever it was, the Maxwells, steered by their formidable mother, stayed put, unwilling to abandon their home, terrace, and trauma be damned. I know this is going to be a great book, but yeah, it's going to be a lot, and I'm excited. I'm here for it. Then I have Patient Zero by Jonathan Mayberry. As you can tell, I've gotten a lot of zombie or apocalyptic books. I'm just craving those type of stories right now. So this says, Monday, 1300 hours. Joe Ledger kills Terrace Javad Mustafa, aka Patient Zero, with 2 point-blank shots from his Glock. Wednesday, 800 hours. Patient Zero rises from the dead. When you have to kill the same terrorist twice in 1 week, there's either something wrong with your world or something wrong with your skills, and there's nothing wrong with Joe Ledger's skills. Ledger, a Baltimore detective assigned to a counterterrorism task force, is recruited by the government to lead a new ultra-secret rapid response group called the Department of Military Science, to help stop a group of terrorists from releasing a dreadful bioweapon that can turn ordinary people into zombies. I'm excited. Then we have The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin. And I really love the covers on, or the colors on this book. Something about like blue or like pink and purple type of colors. I love it so much. Most people wouldn't buy an infamous murder house to renovate for fun, but Sarah Slade is not most people. A therapist and self-help writer with all the answers. Sarah's just bought a gorgeous Victorian in the community of her dreams. Heard good things about this one. Yeah, this video is going to be a million years long, so I'm so sorry for that. A Girl Walks into the Forest by Madeline Rue. There is nothing particularly brave in me, but tonight that must change. Steady, steady, never giving up, carving forward. Even if ground gained is only measured in widths of your fingernail, we could come to know the forest that way, and in time, its darkness would be our darkness. Ooh. Then I have An Ancient Witch's Guide to Modern Dating by Cecilia Edward. I have really been drawn to this cover because I just love the cute little cottage on it, but I also do know the fact that I love cozy fantasies. It's just something that I tend to not pick up all the time because they get me really emotional. Meet Thorne Scarheart, a 39-year-old witch who's having trouble landing a husband, 17th century, despite the help of the local matchmaker and an arsenal of love potions. After she lost her mother, Thorne was too caught up in, well, life to focus on dating. Now she fears she may have missed her chance. I feel like this is definitely going to be like a comedic book, which might be good with some of the heavier books I have in these piles. Then another one I have is A Mother Always Knows by Sarah Strohmeyer. When a young woman's past catches up to her present, she must confront long-buried memories and bring secrets to light if she wants to save her future. I do really love how eerie that cover is. Stella O'Neill is just your average millennial working at a public library and worrying about making rent. No one would suspect she's been living under an assumed name or that she was raised in a Vermont commune of diviners, where as a 10-year-old she witnessed her mother's brutal murder, a crime that has gone unsolved for years. I'm excited. And then I have another apocalyptic book. This one is If We Survive This by Raquel Marie. This says Flora Braddock Paz is not the girl who survives, a colorful creative who spends as much time fearing death as she does trying to hide that fear from her loved ones. She's always considered herself weak. But half a year into the global outbreak of a rabies mutation that transforms people into violent zombie-like rabbits, she and her older brother Kane are still alive. With their mom dead, their dad missing, and their Los Angeles suburb left desolate, they form a new plan. Venture out to the secluded Northern California cabin they vacationed in growing up. Their best chance at a safe haven, and maybe even seeing their dad again. If you want me to do like a zombie reading vlog, please let me know because I have so many zombie books that I am so excited to pick up. Then the next one I have here is The Deathless One, Her Death is Just the Beginning by Emma Hamm. This was one that I have not heard of and I was really curious about it. I do love the way the cover looks, and then it does have these beautiful sprayed edges on it. It says, murdered on her wedding day, a fallen princess makes a deal for her life with the god of death, but the feelings he stirs in her are far more than she bargained for. Ooh, this sounds so good. And it says, for fans of enemies to lovers, shadow daddies, and feminine rage, this book is a must. I do love me some good feminine rage, and tie that together with enemies to lovers. Sign me up. Then the next one I have here is Frankenstein by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. And then it does have like some illustrations in it by Bernie Wrightson, and it looks like there's an intro by Stephen King, but it has this beautiful cover on it. And Frankenstein is actually a book that I read back in high school, and it was really good. We also did go and dress up and do like interview type of videos, and I was the only person that was down to go and dress up as the men. I was a theater girly, so anytime you gave me an excuse to go and dress up and act, I was all for it. I'll insert a picture here, and if you're at this point in the video and you've stayed here for the whole thing, you get this delightful snippet. But there are going to be like little images throughout the books. I think that's so cool. So there's going to be images and stuff like that throughout the book. So I thought that was so fun, and I really, really loved the cover of this, so I had to go and snag it. Then we have Rouge by Mona Awad. I've read one book by Mona Awad, which was Bunny, and I have been really wanting to read more stuff by her. So this one is For As Long As She Can Remember, Belle has been insidiously obsessed with skin and skincare videos. When her estranged mother, Noelle, mysteriously dies, Belle finds herself back in Southern California, dealing with her mother's considerable debts and grappling with lingering questions about her death. The stakes escalate when a strange woman in red appears at the funeral, offering a tantalizing clue about her mother's demise, followed by a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience. I am so curious, and I love the way Mona Awad writes, so I can't wait to go and pick this up. So next is Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, and this was another one that has kind of been on my radar for a while. I haven't read The Hacienda yet, but it is one that I do have on my shelf and I plan on reading soon. So this one says, vampires and vaqueros face off on the Texas-Mexico border in the supernatural western. As the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nina knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with Anglo settlers from the north, but something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night. Something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. I'm excited for this. And I know some people have been in the mood for vampires, so here's a vampire book if you need one. Another one I have here is Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle. This was actually a book that I think was on my anticipated reads list for the year of 2025, but I wasn't able to go and get to it. It says, a food story to binge, a ghost story to devour, a love story to savor. Constantine is a haunted man. His father died when he was 10, and ghosts have been hovering around him ever since. Kostya can't exactly see the ghosts, but he can taste their favorite foods. Flavors of meals he's never eaten will flood in his mouth, a sign that a spirit is present. He's kept these aftertastes a secret for most of his life, but one night he decides to act on what he's tasting and everything changes. This was one that really intrigued me so much, especially as a foodie, so I can't wait to read this one. I can't remember if I do have it on one of my bingo boards for this year, but if it isn't, I will probably need to add it so I can start reading it. Last one in this box is Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugget, and this is one that I have really wanted to read. My friend Brie has also really raved about this book, and like I said earlier, any book that she absolutely loves and adores is one that I'm like, I know I'm gonna love too. So this says, for Sally Diamond, people are confusing, unpredictable, and hard to read. She has always preferred routines to spontaneity, silence to noise, and forthright communication to small talk. I mean, that's 100% me. Adopted at the age of 7 by a psychiatrist, she cannot remember any details of her childhood before that age. Now 43, Sally finds the truth coming into sharp focus when her past becomes headline news. She endured something unthinkable as a child, and now the entire world knows exactly who she is and was. I can't wait to read this. I've heard it is a wild ride. Next we have The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. And I have read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I absolutely loved it. I love the worlds that she goes and builds and everything. So when I saw this one, I was like, I need to know what this book is all about. I love the cover of it so much. And this is an adult epic fantasy. Everything has a spirit, the willow tree with leaves that kiss the pond, the stream that feeds the river, the wind that exhales fresh snow. But the spirits that reside within this land want to rid it of all humans. One woman stands between these malevolent spirits and the end of humankind, the queen. She alone has the magical power to prevent the spirits from destroying every man, woman, and child. But queens are still just human, and no matter how strong or good, the threat of danger always looms. I am so curious about this, and kind of seems like very pro-nature, kind of druidic-y, so can't wait to check it out. Then we have The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, and I've heard a lot of great things about this book. So when I saw that it actually was available on Bookoutlet, I had to go and snag it up before it was one of those books that instantly disappeared. So it says, The Raven Scholar is a masterfully woven tale of imperial intrigue from an electrifying new voice in epic fantasy. Let us fly now to the Empire of Oran, where after 24 years of peace, the reign of Burson the Brisk has come to an end. In the dizzying heat wave of midsummer, 7 exceptional warriors, thinkers, and strategists compete to replace him. When one of them is murdered, it falls to Nima Kra, the Emperor's brilliant idiosyncratic high scholar to find the killer and fight for the throne. This one is especially chonky, but I've heard great things on this one, so I can't wait to check it out. Then another one that I was really curious about as well was Direbound by Sable Sorensen. This was another one that people have really raved about too, and like I said, I really do prefer reading books physically, so when I saw that this was available on Bookoutlet, I was like, okay, we're gonna go and snag this one up as well. Only the worthy survive the bonding trials. She'll risk her life and her heart to be one of them. Maren Cooper has always hated the bonded elite warriors who form mental links with the massive, vicious direwolves they ride. The bonded live in luxury while Maren struggles to keep her family out of poverty. And when her little sister, Selah, is kidnapped, stolen across the border by the immortal monsters her country has spent centuries fighting, Maren's world falls apart. It does look like, sadly, this book does have some damage. There's kind of like a little bit of a hole and a dent here, but it's not too bad. Everything else is in really decent shape, so I'm excited to check this out. Then last one we have in the box for this one is Season of Fear by Emily Cooper. I really love the cover of this. I always love covers that have like nature and a human's face incorporated. I don't know why, but they're some of my favorite covers to look at. And it says Night of the Witch meets The Handmaid's Tale in this queer gothic horror debut set against the Hexenwald, a mysterious Bavarian forest. All monsters prefer women. Oh, that hits a little bit. In the Bavarian village of Hulensee, women feed their terror to an ancient saint of fear. In return, it protects them from the monsters of the Hexenwald, the haunted woods on their doorstep. Born unfearing, Isli Oldenwald has felt like an outsider all her life. When the saint discovers Isli's divergence, it levels a threat. She must find her fear, or the saint will devour her sister, Dorothea, the only person who loves Isli unconditionally. Oof, this one will be so good, so impactful, probably have a lot of frustration in it, but I think I'm gonna save this one for Pride Month as well. So first I have here is Let Him In by William Friend. This is one that I've been really wanting to read, and I know it's gonna be very creepy, but also very quick. Daddy, there's a man in our room. Oh my gosh, that's always terrifying. Alfie wakes one night to find his twin daughters at the foot of his bed, claiming there's a shadowy figure in their bedroom. When no such thing can be found, he assumes the girls had a nightmare. He isn't surprised that they're troubled. Grief has made its home at Hart House. 9 months ago, the twins' mother, Pippa, died unexpectedly, leaving Alfie to raise them alone. And now when the girls mention a new imaginary friend, seems like a harmless coping mechanism, but the situation quickly develops into something more insidious. The girls set an extra place for him at the table, then whisper to him. They say he's going to take them away. Ooh. Then we have a Darcy Coates book. This one is Quarter to Midnight. It's 15 tales of horror and suspense, so a lot of short stories in this one. I don't usually read short stories, but Darcy Coates is one of my all-time favorite authors. I've read, I think, at least 5 or 6 of her books now, so I've been working on that backlist to the best of my ability, and I've been really curious about this one. It says, Are you afraid yet? You will be. Step into a world where anything is possible, where your darkest nightmares shift and change before your eyes, taking the shape of unnameable horrors. This is a place where... ... Ooh, I'm excited. Then last one in this box is Swarm by Jennifer D. Lyle. And this is going to be an apocalyptic one. On a sunny September morning, the creatures first appear. Sher sees one of them hovering outside the window in history class. It looks like a giant butterfly at first, too beautiful and too strange to seem like a threat. But when emergency alerts light up everyone's phones around her, she realizes something very, very wrong is happening outside. These things are everywhere. Oh, I'm excited. Kind of seems like these butterflies have teeth, at least in this image, but I'm curious. I'm wondering if this one kind of seems like Silence, that one movie that is on Netflix, but I know it's also based off of a book too. So yeah, that's also another one that's on my list to eventually read, but very excited. I'm just gonna tell me if you want me to do an apocalyptic or zombie reading vlog, let me know. We have the books for it, and I'd be so excited to do it. Okay, next big box, and then after this one we have one more left. Like I said, this is going to be a chunky video. I'm going to try to edit it down to the best of my ability. We shall see. Oh no, this one kind of has a little boo-boo. But this one is Overgrowth by Mira Grant. You were warned. This is just a story. It can't hurt you anymore. Since she was 3 years old, Anastasia Miller has been telling anyone who would listen that she's an alien disguised as a human being, and that the armada that left her on Earth is coming for her. Since she was 3 years old, no one has been willing to listen. What happens when you know what's coming and just refuse to listen? That's a quote that's on the bottom. Then we have Burn Down, Rise Up by Vincent Tirado. And this is There's No Waking Up from This Nightmare. Oh, the cover looks so creepy. Mysterious disappearances, an urban legend rumored to be responsible, and one group of friends determined to save their city at any cost. For more than a year, the Bronx has been plagued by sudden disappearances that no one can explain. 15-year-old Raquel does her best to ignore them. After all, the police only look for the white kids. But when her crush Charlize's cousin goes missing, Raquel starts to pay attention, especially when her own mom comes down with a mysterious illness that seems linked to the disappearance. Can't wait. Then we have another Darcy Coates book, and unfortunately, it looks like the cover has been busted. So with Bookoutlet, a lot of the time you do get some books that are kind of like this. So this is really, really unfortunate. But I'll still read it and see how it goes. So this one is The Haunting of Lee Harker. Sometimes the dead reach back. Lee Harker's quiet suburban home was her sanctuary for more than a decade until things abruptly changed. Curtains open by themselves, radios turn off and on, and a dark figure looms in the shadows of her bedroom door at night, watching her, waiting for her to finally let down her guard enough to fall asleep. Then we have Retreat by Kristen Ritter. This is the actress that is in Marvel's Jessica Jones. A beautiful con artist insinuates herself into a wealthy socialite's life, with deadly consequences in the serpentine thriller about identity and obsession. Ooh. Liz Dawson weaves through a crowd with the ease of a tropical breeze, moving seamlessly through elite circles. She's clever, smooth, and confident, qualities that make her a brilliant serial con artist. I'm really curious on this one. I don't think I know too many people who have read it either, so this will be good to see what I think on it. Then we have Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. I do have the first book, Phantasma, but I haven't been able to read it just yet. But I did want to get my hands on the next book just so that I could easily go and read the next one after I finish the first. So I'm excited to read this one. I have heard mixed things where some people weren't a fan of this one and then other people really did like it. Then we have The Camp by Nancy Bush. This one says, there are always stories told around the fire at summer camp. Tall tales about gruesome murderers and unhinged killers concocted to scare new arrivals and lend an extra jolt of excitement to those hormone-charged nights. At Camp Left Shock, nicknamed Camp Left Shack, there are stories about a creeping fog that brings death with it. But here, they're not just campfire tales. Here, the stories are real. Then we have Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. I definitely did get a lot of Darcy Coates books, which I'm so excited about. It's time to come home. The whole family has owned the Gallows Hill winery for generations. The sprawling old house has long been perched on top of a hill overlooking the nearby town. Jealousy guarding the estate's secrets, their wine wins awards, their business prospers, their family thrives, until Hugh and Maria Hull enter the dark halls of Gallows Hill one last time and are found dead the next morning. Next we have Island Witch by Amanda Jayatisa. I don't think I'm saying that right, but I do really love the cover of this. It says, being the daughter of the village Chupua, a demon priest Amara is used to keeping mostly to herself. Influenced by the new religious practices brought in by the British colonizers, the villagers, who once respected her father's craft, have turned on the family, yet they all still seem to call on him whenever supernatural disturbances arise. Then we have Behoved by M. Stevenson. The fate of the kingdom is riding on them. This one was kind of a silly, goofy purchase. I was intrigued in this one and I saw it was available on Bookoutlet, so I thought, why not? This says, Bianca knows her duty comes before her heart, so when the threat of war looms, she agrees to marry the neighboring kingdom's heir. But not all royal weddings are a fairy tale, and Prince Eric, Bianca's betrothed, betrothed is cold, aloof, and seems to hate her on sight. Then another one we have here is The Murder Rule. No one is innocent in this story by Dervla McTiernan. First rule, make them like you. Second rule, make them need you. Third rule, make them pay. They think I'm a young, idealistic law student, that I'm passionate about reforming a corrupt and brutal system. They think I'm working hard to impress them. They think I'm here to save an innocent man on death row. They're wrong. I'm gonna bury him. Oof. Okay, then we have The Enemy's Daughter by Melissa Poet. A dangerously romantic page-turner that pushes the enemies to lovers trope to the height of what it should be. It's been 37 years since the Republic was destroyed. Now 2 settlements, the 5 clans, and the Kingsland fight for control of the untainted land. Though the 5 clans are outnumbered, they're finally struck, killing the Kingsland's brutal leader. This was another one that I think I tried to apply to get a copy of, but I wasn't picked, which is totally fine. So when I saw this again on Bookoutlet, I was like, oh yeah, I really wanted to read that one. So I was glad to go and see it again so I could pick it up. Then we have Exquisite Ruin by Adrienne May. This was one I was really curious about because I loved the cover of the book. It also does have these really pretty sprayed edges. In this deadly maze, the most dangerous thing may be the passion between them. Sadre wakes in a labyrinth, remembering nothing except that she is a powerful sorceress. Her only companion is a hostile immortal named Desra, beautiful, dangerous, and demonic, who bound his divine soul for power and revenge. Despite their animosity, the two have no choice but to work together to reach the center and defeat the monster who prevents their escape. I'm so curious about this. This sounds so good. Then another one I have here is Embrace the Serpent by Sunya Mara. This was one that I saw advertised quite a bit by the author on Instagram, and honestly the advertising that she did for her book was so good. So this says, a dangerous deal could save a kingdom or destroy its king's heart. The Serpent King is the most eligible bachelor in the land, a monster with dark and terrible magic and the ruler of the last free kingdom. Riches and power await his future bride, but also a life forever trapped in the games of court. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this one, so I'm really excited. Then another one I have is Divine the Leaves by Shavita Thakar. This was another book that I had as an anticipated read, I think for the year of 2025, but then I completely forgot about it until I was able to see it again on Bookoutlet. So I decided to go and snag this one up. It says, plant-loving Ridhi Kapadia and popular Nilish Batra, friends once. Now 17 alone, Ridhi blends natural perfumes, wears flower crowns, and wanders her local woods, listening for the leafy whispers of her beloved trees, pleading for the yakshas to admit her into their enchanted forest kingdom where she knows she truly belongs. This seems so druid-like, and I love that. I can't wait to check this one out, and I love the cover of it so much. Then I have We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. I really loved Behind Her Eyes by this author. It was probably one of my all-time favorite reads, and one of the few books that I read when I was kind of not really reading books in college, and I really tried my hardest to go and get a copy of this one when I was in Flatiron's influencer program, but that one was an influencer program I probably would not recommend because their communication and everything was not great. But I was excited to go and get a copy of this one, but I am really surprised with how thin it is. So I believe this one is like a haunted house type of story. It says, after an accident that nearly killed her, Emily and her husband Freddie moved from London to a beautiful Dartmoor country house called Larkin Lodge. The house is gorgeous, striking, and to Emily, something about it feels deeply wrong. I can't wait to go and check this one out. Like I said, the one book I've read by this author has been one of my all-time favorite reads, so I can't wait to read more books by them. And then last book in this box is going to be Annibot by Sierra Greer. I have really wanted to read this one, and especially just the female rage that is in it. So it says, meet Annie. She was created to be the perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready for him every night, wears the cute outfits he orders for her, and adjusts her libido to suit his moods. Doug says he loves that Annie's artificial intelligence makes her seem more like a real woman, but the more human Annie becomes, the less perfectly she behaves. As Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder, does Doug really desire what he says he wants? And in such an impossible paradox, What Does Annie Owe Herself? I can't wait to read this one. I know this is going to be so good. I've heard lots of good things about this one, and it's probably going to fill me up with so much female rage too, which honestly, I'm okay with that. That box is done, and we're on to our last box. First up, we have Hecate by Nikita Gill. I have been really wanting to read, and it does have these beautiful sprayed edges. This is an ancient story written long before us. It is a tale full of gods and monsters, divine wars and ghosts, a tangled mess made by the divine and the mortal, mothers and daughters, the sacred and the courageous, wounds both healed and unhealed, and the grief that grows in the absence of love. At the soul of the story is the divine goddess within us all. Okay, so this one is going to be interesting because it's kind of written in like poems, which Nikita Gill does, but I've heard really great things about this book, so I'm excited to read this and just seeing what I think of this. But yeah, Hecate the witch, goddess of the underworld. Can't wait to read this. Then I don't think I'm gonna open this one, but I got the Anne of Green Gables collection by L.M. Montgomery. I really loved the way the covers of these looked, and you can kind of see a little bit of them on the back of this box set. But I've been really wanting to reread these books. I think I never actually read the last two, but I read most of this series when I was a lot younger, and something about me is I really love collecting a lot of my childhood nostalgic books that I read, and so this has been one that has been on my radar, and when I saw that Bookoutlet had it available, I had to go and snag it up. Then we have The Hollow Dead. This is the Gravekeeper book number 4 by Darcy Coates. I have read The Whispering Dead, and I do have a few of the other books in the series, so this was just me going and collecting the rest of the books so that I can just binge and continue reading everything. But this is book number 4. Then I have Kill Creatures by Rory Power. This is one that I've been really curious about, and I do really love the eeriness of this cover. Last summer, Luce, Eddie, Jane, and Nan took a boat out for one final swim in the river. It was a perfect summer night, but the only one who returned that night was Nan. Eddie, Jane, and Luce disappeared, and Nan's story has always been the same. She has no idea what happened. The girls went ahead, and it was as though they vanished into thin air. Then we have A Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. This is one that I had an ARC for on NetGalley, and I just didn't have the time to go and read it before it published. But this one says, love is at stake. Carolina Fuentes wants to join her family in hunting the bloodthirsty vampiros that plagued her pueblo. Her father, however, wishes to marry her off to a husband of his choosing, someone who will whisk her away from danger. Determined to prove she'd make a better slayer than wife, Carolina vows to take down a monster herself, but when she runs into un vampiro who is somehow extremely attractive and kind to her, her plan crumbles. Then I have The Twisted Dead. This is a part of that Gravekeeper series by Darcy Coates, and this is book number 3. And then we have Every Borrowed Beat by Erin Stewart. This was one that I picked up because it does have some disability representation in it. It says, I'm only alive because Mia is not. Chloe was wrong. This isn't just a bad idea. It's the worst one I've ever had. A story about what it means to live because of another, for another, and most of all for yourself. Sydney Wells should have died. She was supposed to die. She never expected to receive a heart transplant. Until now, her days have been spent indoors eating healthy and posting online about her transplant list experiences with her heart failure friend Chloe. So how does she get out in the world and live? I've been really wanting to get more books with disability representation in them, so when I came across this one, I was really intrigued to go and pick it up. Then I have another Darcy Coates book, and this one is The Haunting of Gillespie House. And it says, some spirits linger. Elle is thrilled to spend a month minding the beautiful Gillespie property. Over an hour's drive from the nearest town, the aging mansion is ideal for someone seeking solitude. But as she explores her new home, Elle makes a startling discovery. There's a graveyard nestled deep in the woods, containing a generation of the house's residents, all who died the same year. And then very last book in this book haul, that is extremely long, is In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy. I've heard that this is like a sirens or mermaid story, and lots of people have been raving about this one. It says, the monster is always slain. Imogen Nell is in hiding from a cruel kingdom that believes sirens are monstrous, blood-hungry creatures, hiding from a king and his captain who viciously hunt her kind, hiding from her own alluring abilities by keeping herself from the sea. Imogen's bloodlust is dulled, and her black wings remain concealed beneath her skin. I'm excited and so curious because, like I said, nothing but raving reviews. All right, we have finally gotten through all the boxes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count up to see how much damage we did this time. And yeah, so give me one sec. So that is our 84 book haul. So many books in this book haul, and I think honestly this book haul actually brings us up to our goal of officially being counted as a library, because I believe we need to have 1,000 books, and last time I scanned I think I was around 861, so I think if we're not already there, we're extremely close. So yeah, we got a lot of books, but like I said, these books for a majority were all purchased on sale. The only ones I'd say that probably weren't for the most part were the ones that were the sprayed edges. Half of them I did get with my points that I had already saved up, and then some of them were not with points. But yeah, a lot of these books were purchased over the course of many months, basically since November through various sales. So like I said, these weren't books that were not all purchased overnight. It was stuff that I was hoarding and saving together to do one very last huge book haul with you all, because I'm not going to be doing huge book hauls for some time. I'll probably make small book purchases here and there, but it won't be in this capacity for a while because I think I'm good. I think I have everything that I'd like to read, and I do plan on doing more specific games where I'm going and picking books off of my bookshelves and also utilizing Libby more and borrowing books there before I decide if I'm going to go and purchase a copy of them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this very, very long book haul. It's probably going to be a chunky one, so if I haven't already, I'll probably put a poll to see if people want the huge one or if they'd rather want it like split in 2 pieces. So depending on what happens, you'll see. You'll know before I do, but I hope you enjoyed this really, really huge book haul. If there were any books that caught your attention and you'd like to read them, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I'm gonna see which ones I'm in the mood to read first, but I know I'm especially feeling drawn to the apocalyptic and zombie ones. But if you got to this point of the video and you don't know what to comment, I'd say maybe leave a skull for the skull that's here on Enchantra. And I'm so excited to see you again in the next video. Like I said, this one has been one I've been holding off and waiting for a long time, so I hope you enjoyed it because holy crap, I am surrounded by books, and I'll maybe include a little video here at some point, but yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Again, leave a skull if you got to this point of the video and you don't know what to comment. And again, thank you for watching, and I just want to wrap up the video with this reminder that I always leave, and it's to always remember that you're worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends.
Nuggy, what do you think's in here? What's in here? I don't think this is for you. You can't read. I can read to you, though. Would you like that?